Now, Roma Wines present
Suspense. Tonight, The Brighton Strangler, starring John Loder with June Dupre.
Suspense is presented for your enjoyment by Roma Wines. That's R-O-M-A, Roma Wines. Those excellent California wines that can add so much pleasantness to the way you live, to your happiness in entertaining guests, to your enjoyment of everyday meals. Yes, right now a glass full would be very pleasant as Roma Wines bring you
Suspense. This is the Man in Black here for the Roma Wine Company of Fresno, California, who tonight from Hollywood bring you a radio play by Robert L. Richards based on the RKO picture The Brighton Strangler. The stars of the production are appearing with us this evening in this drama of an actor who specialized in murder and of a girl who became the unwilling heroine in a real-life play. And so with The Brighton Strangler and with the performances of John Loder and June Dupre, we again hope to keep you in suspense.
Midnight and the New Year.
Oh, Edward, it's been such a lovely holiday.
April, my dear, I wouldn't stand too near the edge. The rail is very low and it's quite a drop to the street.
I was only looking over the city. It's even a lovely night to have a holiday end, as long as it must end.
All lovely things must end, my dear.
Shall we join the others? It's a bit chilly out here on the terrace, don't you think?
No, we can't go in just yet because...
Because what?
Because something has to happen first.
What has to happen?
You know what happened to the Lord Mayor of Brighton, don't you?
He was strangled.
On Christmas Day, and the chief inspector, 3 days later, he was strangled too, wasn't he?
Edward.
Don't try to pretend you haven't guessed who I am.
No, Edward. You couldn't be...
Go on, say it. The Brighton Strangler.
Couldn't.
But I did. My alibi for the Lord Mayor was very simple. I merely turned his watch back. And for the chief inspector, you yourself supplied me with an alibi. Remember?
But why? Why?
Because 10 years ago they conspired to send an innocent man to prison. And that innocent man was me. And now, you, my dear, are the only person alive who knows.
Edward, listen to me. We're in London. It's New Year's Eve. Don't you remember how... But of course... Edward, you're not going to...
Yes. That's him! Stop! Stop or I'll shoot! You got him!
Dead. At last. The Brighton Strangler.
Thank you very much. Thank you, all of you. Thank you. Good night.
Reggie, it's so good, it's so terribly good, I can't bear to close it, and it's making so much money.
Well, you're the producer. Don't close it. Put someone else in the part.
Oh, you know I can't do that. People don't come to the theater to see the Brighton Strangler. They come to see you, Reggie. To the public, you are the Brighton Strangler.
Not after tonight, I'm not.
I can't understand you, Reggie. Walking out on a play that gave you fame and fortune.
I'm fed up. Fed up to the teeth with it, that's all.
Oh, look, Reggie, I won't speak for the play itself. It's only mediocre. I'll grant you that. But you've given it something, Reggie. By sheer force of personality, you've made it authentic, terrifying, a tremendous psychological drama.
That's just it. Now look here, Shelton. Has it ever occurred to you that a man might feel if he strangled one more person, he'd go stark, raving mad?
Oh, But it's only a play, Reggie. Just make believe.
You ought to know by this time that to an actor, a good actor, it's never entirely make-believe.
Now, look here, Reggie, look here. I'll tell you what I'll do.
I don't want to talk about it. Leave me alone, can't you?
Oh, but Reggie, please.
Leave me alone. Can't you understand? Leave me alone.
All right. There's no need to get edgy.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Got any plans?
Oh, some service canteen shows. Well, if I don't see you, Merry Christmas.
Yes. Merry Christmas. Good night.
Good night. Air raid. Shelton! Gone. Everyone's gone. No time to make the shelter now. Best stay here, I suppose. Getting close. Too close. This is it. My head hurts. It hurts. Got to get out of here somehow. But where? Where?
You all right, sir? Oh, you've got a nasty gash on the head, haven't you?
All right, why, yes. Yes, I'm all right.
Oh, here. Don't forget your suitcase, sir.
Suitcase?
Yeah. Where you going? Victoria Station?
Huh? Yes. Victoria Station.
How many?
3 return tickets to Horsham.
Here you are.
And yours?
Return to Rottingdean, if you please.
Right. Next?
Single to Brighton.
Brighton.
Next. What's yours, sir?
Single to Brighton.
Tonight for Suspense, Roma Wines are bringing you as stars Mr. John Loder and Miss June Dupre in the Brighton Strangler, tonight's tale of suspense.
When you listen to the friendly advice of Miss Elsa Maxwell about hospitality and gracious living, you realize that here is an authority who talks plain common sense all the time.
I'm talking to men as well as women when I say that the finest hospitality is always simple, sincere, moderate, and natural. Never the opposite. And so, I'm always emphasizing that the nicest, simplest, most sincerely flattering hospitality is to serve your guests some Roma sherry. With its golden amber color, its deliciously tangy, nut-like flavor. It's not only supremely enjoyable before dinner or in the afternoon, it's smartly correct, a genuine compliment to your friends and to yourself. And please don't worry about special glasses. It's perfectly correct to use any nice glasses that are handy.
Well, Miss Maxwell speaks more authoritatively than I can. But I will add this. Roma sherry, like all famous Roma wines, made from California's magnificent sun-ripened grapes, brings you all their fine flavor, aroma, and color, is unvaryingly good, always enjoyable, thanks to the age-old wine skill of Roma's noted wineries, located in the choicest vineyard areas of California. Yet all this goodness and pleasure is yours, for only pennies a glass. Remember, more Americans enjoy Roma than any other wines. Roma, R-O-M-A, Roma wines.
And now it is with pleasure that we bring back to our soundstage Mr. John Loder as Reginald Parker and June Dupre as April Manby, who now takes up the narrative concerning the Brighton Strangler, a tale well calculated to keep you in suspense.
Somehow, from that very first moment, I was drawn to him. He was handsome and attractive, yes, but it wasn't that. He seemed so lonely, so much in need of help. And then on the train, when I thought that he'd really been hurt, I just threw convention to the winds and took charge of him.
You've been very kind.
Well, someone had to put a bit of sticking plaster on that head of yours. Are you sure you're all right now?
Quite, thank you.
It must have been terrible. I heard about the theater.
The theater?
Yes, of course I recognized you the minute you stepped into the compartment.
What?
Well, you are Reginald Parker, the actor, aren't you? I've seen your picture on the billboards dozens of times.
Reginald Parker.
And I've been dying to tell you. My name is April.
April?
Mm-hmm, that's the name of the girl in your play, isn't it? And I'm from Brighton.
April from Brighton?
Only, of course, my last name is Mandy.
Well, that's where I'm going, Brighton.
Well, isn't that nice? We do have a lot in common, don't we?
Yes, a great deal, I think.
Oh, we're going to have such wonderful times in Brighton over the holidays. You know, I was wondering if you wouldn't think it forward of me.
What?
Well, my family's having a party at our house on Christmas Day. The Lord Mayor and a lot of people are going to be there, and I...
The Lord Mayor?
Yes, and if you'd like to come... I mean, I'm really not a celebrity hound, you know. But if you'd really like to come...
Why, I'd be delighted.
Oh, Mr. Parker, that'll be wonderful.
April, why don't you call me Edward?
Edward? Oh, you mean Reginald Parker's only your stage name?
Yes, a stage name.
Isn't that odd? I always knew actors had stage names, but I always thought yours was real. But I think I'd rather call you Reginald. Or at least introduce you to my family that way. It's a sort of confusing two names.
Well, what's in the name?
Yes, after all, what is? Reginald, what's that little silk cord you keep twisting in your hand?
Oh, this?
Yes.
I use this to strangle people.
What? Oh, you mean in the play?
Yes, in the play.
Would you always carry it about with you?
Always.
Why?
Oh, I don't know.
Oh, for luck, I suppose. I've heard of actors having superstitions like that. Do you still have many friends in Brighton?
Friends? Acquaintances. I haven't been back for 10 years.
They'll scarcely remember you, will they?
The ones who are important will remember me. They will remember me very well. Hello there. Am I late?
Oh, no, right on the dot. Just 5:30 now. Here, let me take your coat.
Thanks.
Now come along and meet everyone. I'm so anxious for you to meet my parents. Told them so much about you.
I didn't realize you knew so much about me.
Silly, you know what I mean. Mother, I want you to meet Mr. Reginald Parker. How do you do, Mr.
How do you do?
And Mrs. Shackleton.
How do you do?
And Mr. Shackleton.
How are you?
My father, Dr. Manby.
How do you do,
And
sir?
Chief Inspector Alice.
Well, everyone's here now but the Lord Mayor. I wonder what can be keeping here.
Oh, it's barely 5:30 now. It's a bit of a walk from his place. I expect he'll be along directly.
Well, Mr. Parker, it's a pleasure to meet you in the flesh, so to speak, sir.
Now, I have an impression that we have met in the flesh before, Inspector.
Not that I recall, sir, and I'm sure that I would.
I would have thought so too, Inspector, if only because of our mutual adventures in villainy.
Eh? Oh, I see what you mean. Well, sir, I'm a practical criminologist, or supposed to be. And I must confess that I find most of these plays and films and so on about crime rather preposterous.
Why?
Oh, why, in this day and age, a man can't go about killing people without being caught. Once in a while, perhaps. But when you get these stories of chaps with 2 or 3, a whole string of victims, oh, no, never.
But, Inspector, they always are caught in the end, if only to prove to the kiddies that crime doesn't pay.
But supposing it were the perfect crime.
Bosh. There's no such thing.
Really?
If you're interested in criminology, Mr. Parker, we ought to get together some evening while you're here. Perhaps I could give you a few experiences of my own that would amuse you.
I should be delighted, Inspector. In fact, I shall make a point of it.
Excuse me a moment. Hello? Yes? Yes, I'll call him. It's for you, Daddy.
For me? Oh, thank you, my dear. Yes? This is Dr. Manby speaking. What? Good Lord. Yes? Yes, very well, I'll tell him. And I'll come over at once.
What is it? What's wrong?
terrible thing has just happened. We'll need you on this, I'm afraid, Inspector.
Why, what happened?
The Lord Mayor has been murdered.
Murdered?
Can't understand it. He didn't have an enemy in the world.
Well, when did it happen?
Left his house at 5:15 to come over here. He was apparently attacked by someone who'd been lurking in the shrubbery of his own grounds. He was killed at 5:30. His watch had been smashed during the struggle, and that's when it stopped.
And how was he killed, Doctor?
He was strangled.
It was fantastic, of course. But there it was, that terrible coincidence, the strangling in Brighton. But I must confess that my main concern was for Reggie. The way everyone glanced at him, the polite, standoffish way they talked to him was enough to show they felt that somehow he was responsible for the dreadful thing that had happened. As for myself, I felt almost as badly as he did. Thought I'd never known anyone quite so brave. It was clear he wanted to get away. He was quite free to go, and yet he stayed on in Brighton, as though compelled to. Perhaps by a strange feeling that he mustn't run off until the mystery had been solved. He even made a little joke about it that night that I drove him to the cottage.
Well, this is one way of facing the music.
Reggie, you mustn't say that.
I'm sorry. Hope you don't mind too much driving me down.
Of course I don't.
I know you must think I'm a low-down dog for thinking the one night you couldn't come along, but it's their only program of Rimsky-Korsakov, and I couldn't bear to miss it.
I'll come another time. If you want me to.
I want you to very much.
Reggie, did you ever think that a play might have an effect on people who saw it?
How?
That someone might see it and want to do the same thing?
Oh.
Reggie, I think that's what happened. I think that someone saw your play and is trying to do the same thing in real life. Some poor creature with a twisted mind.
A twisted mind?
Please don't think I'm blaming you. But a play like that should never have been written, should never have been allowed.
Perhaps it was just fated to be that way.
It's the only thing I can think of to explain the things that have happened.
Does it make a great deal of difference to you?
Different?
In the way you feel about me?
Oh, Reggie, no.
Oh, I'm glad of that. Because I think quite soon now, perhaps after tonight, I shall have something very important to tell you, April.
Oh? Well, here we are.
Well, thanks for bringing me, and you will pick me up.
At 11:30 sharp.
Tickets, please, sir.
Here you are.
First on your right, sir. First seat in the last row.
Am I late?
No, sir, it's just about to begin, sir.
Inspector. Hello there, Parker. Come in.
Thank you.
I was just listening to a little music on my gramophone. Do you know it?
Scheherazade, yes. It's just 42 minutes long.
Oh? Is it? I never timed it. Here, make yourself comfortable by the fire. I was rather hoping you'd pick this evening to drop in. I'm all alone.
I remember you said you'd be. Oh, you have quite a music library, Inspector.
Yes.
And I see you collect other things as well.
Huh? Oh, my private chamber of horrors. Interested?
Very much.
Of course, you did want to talk about crime, didn't you? Well, each of these things, rather gruesome, most of them to you, I expect, is like a trophy to me. Oh, take this butcher's knife. You can imagine what that was used for, I suppose.
His wife?
That's it. Carved her up, put her in her trunk, and checked her at Brighton Station. We didn't find her for 3 months. Never did find her head. We got the chap, though. Now, here's something you don't see very often.
A hangman's noose.
Yes, the fellow who wore that collar last got me my biggest promotion.
It must be a great moment of satisfaction when the bolt is pulled and the rope tightens and you know your murder is done for.
Yes, it is for a fact. But there's one trophy I intend to have here that'll make me prouder than all the rest. Just a little thing it is, too. Just a bit of cord.
You mean the cord that was used to strangle the Lord Mayor?
Right you are. And I'll get it. And the chap who used it, too. You mark my words.
Do you suppose, Inspector, that the cord you're after would look anything like this?
Where did you find that?
Oh, I just carry it about with me for luck. You see, I have a theory about the death of our distinguished Lord Mayor, Inspector.
Oh, have you? But what is it?
Let us suppose that many years ago, 10 years to be exact, before the Lord Mayor was the Lord Mayor, he was a barrister defending a client in a court of law. And let us suppose that instead of defending his client, he betrayed him to the prosecution, and the man went to prison. And let us suppose that the man returned one day after all those years in prison to take revenge, and he took it.
Oh, very imaginative theory, Mr. Parker. Why don't you drop into my office tomorrow? We'll discuss it further.
Ah, but you've only heard half my theory, Inspector. Let us also suppose that the representative of the prosecution to whom this innocent man was betrayed was someone more interested in collecting trophies than in seeing justice. An ambitious man, a chief inspector of police, shall we say. Someone like you, Inspector.
Oh, really, Mr. Parker?
Then it would also follow that our man would strangle you, wouldn't it, Inspector?
I'm afraid play acting has influenced your judgment, sir.
This is no play,
You
Inspector.
couldn't get away with a thing like this.
You've said that before.
People know where you are.
Exactly. You see, I am at the concert.
No!
There you are. Been waiting long?
No, it's just over.
Did you enjoy it?
I don't think I've ever enjoyed a concert quite so much in all my life.
Really?
Oh, do you have a wireless in the car?
Yes, there it is. Right in front of you.
Oh, yes, of course. I thought we might hear a bit of news.
The raiders were driven off, however, with only a minimum of damage to non-military objectives. I have just been handed a dispatch from Brighton. The Brighton Strangler has struck again. At approximately 11 o'clock tonight, Chief Inspector Allison of the Brighton Police Force was found dead in his flat.
Yes.
He had apparently been murdered in the same manner as the Lord Mayor of Brighton, only 3 days before, by strangling. Again, there were no clues to the killer.
Reggie.
It's fortunate, my dear, that you and others know I was at the concert this evening.
Fortunate?
Because otherwise it might seem almost one coincidence too many.
Coincidence? Suddenly all this coincidences, it seemed only the trickery of an impossible nightmare, became the evidence of terrible reality. How I managed to maintain a semblance of calm as I drove him back to his hotel, I shall never know. The next day he had left, and that afternoon he called me from London. He said it was most urgent that I see him, and I knew that I must go. But first, I went to the police.
Now, if you know where he is, we'll arrest him at once.
But I don't know where he is. And besides, I have no proof. Neither of you, neither has anyone.
There's all the proof we need, miss.
But don't you see the pattern? I'm to meet him at the Plaza Hotel. And the Plaza Hotel has a terrace. And tonight is New Year's Eve. And my name is April.
You'll be taking your life in your hands, miss.
Maybe I'm wrong. I pray that I am. Maybe you won't have to do anything and he'll come to of his own accord when I tell him you want him. But if I'm not wrong, this is the only way to save him. And I'm the only person in the world who can do it.
Well, what did you say the line in the play was?
He says, and now you, my dear, the only person alive who knows.
The only person alive who knows.
You do have a script of the play, don't you?
Oh, yes, yes.
Because you'll have to come right in on cue.
Do you have a copy of the play for yourself?
I don't need one. I know it now by heart.
Midnight and the New Year.
Shall we go in? It's a bit chilly out here, don't you think?
No, we can't go in just yet because...
Because what?
Because something has to happen first.
What has to happen?
You know what happened to the Lord Mayor of Brighton, don't you? And the Chief Inspector, he was strangled too, wasn't he?
Reggie.
Don't try to pretend you haven't guessed who I am.
Reggie, this is where the lines are different from the play. I've known who you are.
Go on, say it. The Brighton Strangler.
And now you have the sword in your hands and you want to strangle me. But you mustn't. Oh, listen to me, Reggie. You've been sick. Don't you understand? You've been sick and you've got to get well.
And now you, my dear, are the only person alive who knows.
Reggie, no.
Yes.
Applaud, all of you! Applaud! Bravo! Oh, he's let go of her, all right. But keep him covered all the same.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
He's backing up to the railing. He'll fall. Wait!
Thank you very much. Good night.
As though in a trance, bowing, as he had so often to so many enchanted audiences at the Brighton Strangler, he stepped backwards toward the low parapet as though again leaving the stage, and fell. We found him on the pavement below. He was still alive.
It's April from Brighton. We were bombed, weren't we? And I heard applause. I think I'm hurt. But you'll help me, won't you? I want to take just one last curtain call.
He died there, in my arms.
And so closes The Brighton Strangler, based on the RKO picture and starring John Loder with June Dupre. Tonight's study in Suspense. Suspense is produced, edited, and directed by William Spear.
There is no reason at all, Elsa Maxwell says, why everyone should not have the enjoyment of Roma wines with everyday meals and when entertaining friends.
These superb wines of California are so delightful to the taste, so very delicious with food, so smartly complimentary to friends who are your guests. It seems a shame to me that some people still miss out on such wholesomely simple, moderate, and inexpensive pleasures.
But of course, Miss Maxwell, millions already do know and enjoy Roma wines. In fact, more Americans enjoy Roma than any other wines. And that can only mean Roma wines are California's finest. Always extra good, unvaryingly fine in flavor and quality. Yet, only pennies a glass. Roma. R-O-M-A. Roma wines.
Before we bring you news about next week's program, I should like for our sponsors, the Roma Wine Company, and for all of us who collaborate to bring you Suspense, Mr. Spear, our producer-director, Lud Gluskin, our conductor, Lucian Malowick, composer of our scores, Vern Surrey and Ralph Cummings, our sound crew, Milt Stark, production assistant, Bob Anderson, engineer, and Truman Bradley, our announcer, to wish you a very Merry Christmas. Next Thursday, same time, you will hear Miss Ida Lupino as star of Suspense.
Presented by Roma Wines, R-O-M-A, made in California for enjoyment throughout the world. An open telegram from Washington concerning the merchant marine, which should be listened to with vital interest by eligible members of our audience. United States shipbuilding program is being increased at enormous rate. Contracts have been awarded for hundreds of additional new ships. Every one of these ships must be manned by 40 to 50 men, most of them with previous sea experience. Long Pacific distances and expanding supply problems call for continuous employment of large numbers of men and ships until Japan is totally defeated. Universal demand for strong post-war merchant marine makes post-war opportunities in these jobs fully as great as in any American industry today. This is CBS, the Columbia Broadcasting System. Now, Roma Wines present Suspense. Tonight, A Thing of Beauty, starring June Dupre. Suspense is presented for your enjoyment by Roma Wines. That's R-O-M-A, Roma Wines. Those excellent California wines that can add so much pleasantness to the way you live, to your happiness in entertaining guests, to your enjoyment of everyday meals. Yes, right now a glassful would be very pleasant as Roma Wines bring you
Suspense. This is the Man in Black, here for the Roma Wine Company of Fresno, California. Tonight, in the absence of Ida Lupino, who was prevented from being with us because of illness, we are fortunate in being able to bring to you as star the actress whose performance in the RKO production, None But the Lonely Heart, has recently won her an award for one of the 10 best of the year, Miss June Dupre. Miss Dupre appears tonight in a drama of crime and passion and punishment, as unfolded in a narrative of a celebrated actress of yesteryear. And so with A Thing of Beauty, and with the performance of June Dupre as Madeline Tremaine, we again hope to keep you in suspense.
Thank you. I think we shall just miss the storm if we hurry.
Rather somber place, isn't it?
Oh, it gives her seclusion, and that's all she's ever asked for since she came here. That and what little spiritual comfort I've been able to give her.
How long ago was that, sir? That she came here, I mean.
9 years ago in March.
But it was long before that she left the stage.
Oh, she was nearly 10 years in an institution. A mental disorder. Though it's not her mind that was ever sick, unless I'm mistaken.
I do say she's a bit on the eccentric side, though.
Oh, I don't believe in gossip. You'll be her spiritual advisor soon enough when I've retired. And I want you to meet her without prejudice. And one day I'll tell you what I know, which is little enough, and what I have reason to believe, which is more. Oh, it seems we'll just about escape a drenching.
She lives completely alone?
The one servant, that's all.
Oh, Father Benson.
Oh, Suzette, this is my new curate, the Reverend Mr. Sedley. We are here to see Miss Tremaine.
Well, does she know you are not alone?
My good Suzette, I haven't any idea. But you might let us in out of the rain while you so inform her if you will.
But if... Very well, come in. If you will wait in the study, I will ask if Mademoiselle is able to see you.
What in the world's got into the woman? She knows Miss Tremaine's been seeing me every fortnight at the same time for 9 years.
There's a picture here. Is it of her?
Probably.
My word, she was a beauty.
Your father could have told you. She was a legend of 2 continents.
Must have been a very tragic thing to make a woman like that shut herself away. Is it true, sir, that she sees no one but you?
As far as I know, she has never set foot outside this house in all the time she's been here. Nor has she ever had a single visitor beside myself.
But why?
I think because she hopes that somehow, someday, a man of God will help her to find peace. And she doesn't care to face the world until she's found it.
Mademoiselle will see you now, Father, in her parlor across the hall.
Oh, thank you.
Well, Father Benson, come in. Come in. I do hope you don't mind my receiving you in the dark. But I have a mortal dread of lights during a storm.
Not at all.
You'll find 2 quite comfortable chairs just there by the window, I think.
Oh, thank you. Madeline, this is my new curate, Mr. Sedley.
Oh, yes, Mr. Sedley.
It's a great pleasure, Miss Tremaine, to meet such a famous beauty. Even in the dark.
Ah, so you've heard of my beauty, of course, Mr. Sedley. You know, as you came in, I was looking at this little gold mirror. Engraved on the back are the words, "A thing of beauty is a joy forever."
Ah, Keats?
Yes. Oscar gave it to me. He said it was a magic mirror.
Was that Oscar Wilde, Miss Tremaine?
Yes, dear Oscar. Dear dead days. I suppose you've already heard all the wild tales of my lurid past, Mr. Sedley.
Oh, no, Miss Tremaine, I assure you
I don't believe that Father Benson has ever caught me in a reminiscing mood, have you, Father? But since you will one day be vicar here, Mr. Sedley, perhaps it would be better if you heard the truth from me.
Miss Tremaine, don't think I...
Oh, the truth is wild enough. it all began, I suppose, when John Gaylord got me my first speaking part. That was, far too long ago to tell. John and Nell Garrett were the leads, and my part, well, it was one of those obscure little parts that no one pays any attention to until some obscure little actress comes along and makes a start of a career with it. It was then I first experienced what will always be to me in all the range of human feelings, the supreme exaltation when you hear the full, frenzied applause of an audience for you alone. Yes?
It's me.
Oh, come in, John.
Madam, you are marvelous. Simply marvelous.
Oh, thank you, John.
And such a little fool.
A fool?
I've told you to play the part down, but it's getting worse and worse. Tonight she's absolutely furious. She's going to make trouble for you, Madeline.
Oh, trouble? What kind of trouble?
You don't know Nellie Garrett.
But I know my audience, don't I?
Oh, Madeline, you're so young and foolish and so beautiful.
Why, thank you, John.
So terribly beautiful.
Oh, John, now you're leading up to it again, aren't you?
Madeline, this play isn't going to last forever. Even you can't keep it alive much longer. Why don't we make plans together now? We could have our own company.
As the great John Gaylord and Mrs. Gaylord?
Of course not. Why, in a couple of years, you'd be as famous in your own right as Nell Garrett herself.
Perhaps I don't want to wait a couple of years. Besides, John, I don't love you.
Do you love anyone?
No, but when I marry, it will be, an up-and-coming...
Some of you must know where she is.
You're in for it now, Madeline.
So there you are, my fine miss.
Go easy, Miss Garrett. She's meant no harm.
No harm. She has merely ruined my entire last act curtain for 29 consecutive performances, hoisting her skirts clear above the ankle, ogling the stalls like a music hall Gretchen.
Well, it's only because it's that kind of a part.
Oh, is it? Well, as long as I play the leads in this company, I will not have my best speech in the whole play utterly ruined by rowdy applause for the gutter antics of a half-baked ingenue.
Nell, you're making a fool of yourself.
And while we're on the subject, Mr. Gaylord, there are a few points I should like to discuss with you. When you help Miss Tremaine down from the swing in the second act, there is no need for you to keep your arm around her during the entire remainder of the scene.
Well, really, Miss Garrett, if you can no longer hold either your audiences or your lovers...
Oh, no. Nell!
I'll kill you for that, Nell Garrett. If I die for it, I'll kill you. I left the theater and walked aimlessly out into the night, my eyes blinded with the tears. Young, oh yes, and foolish as I was, I believed my poor little heart was truly broken, for I knew that Nell Garrett could ruin me with every theater manager in London, and I knew she would. How long I wandered through those misty streets, or where, or even what I did, I shall never know. But just as dawn was breaking, I found myself, by some odd twist of fate, passing by the lodgings of John Gaylord. On a sudden impulse, I climbed the steps to his door.
Madeline.
Hello, John.
Did anyone see you?
See me?
Come in. Where have you been?
Just walking.
Oh, good Lord. Alone?
Yes. Why?
Don't you know?
Yes, John, I'm afraid I do. My career...
Your career? Oh, my poor child.
John, what's the matter?
Don't you know that Nell Garrett's been found dead with a knife in her back?
Dead?
Murdered.
John!
The police have been looking all over London for you. I've been expecting you here, expecting them here any moment.
For me?
Of course for you.
Me?
Madeline, last night you threatened to kill her in front of a dozen witnesses. Why wouldn't they be looking for you?
Oh, no.
Madeline, listen to me. Listen to me. Where did you go? What did you do? Didn't anyone see you? Didn't you talk to anyone?
No.
You've got to tell them something.
What can I tell them?
Because if you don't,
John.
they'll hang you, Madeline. Please, Madeline, you've got to think. Try to remember something.
I'm so alone. If I only had a friend.
You have got a friend,
Someone
Madeline. I know.
who loved me enough to at least say that they were with me.
Who is it?
Inspector Phillips, Scotland Yard. Madeline, in there, quick. The bedroom.
John.
Don't worry, I'll tell them something. Hurry.
Coming.
I'm sorry to rouse you at this early hour, sir.
Quite all right.
Come in. You are Mr. John Gaylord?
Yes?
Of the Queen's Players Company, Drury Lane?
Yes?
Can you tell me, Mr. Gaylord, anything of the whereabouts of Miss Madeline Tremaine?
Madeline Tremaine? Yes. Why...
Did you call me, darling? Oh, excuse me.
Who is this lady, Mr. Gaylord?
Well, who are you?
I am from the police, madam.
Police?
There has been a murder. Miss Nell Garrett of the Queen's Company was found stabbed in her home last night.
Nell Garrett?
Yes. Do you know her?
Why, of course.
I'm afraid, madam, that I shall have to ask you for your name.
I'm Madeline Tremaine. I'm so sorry that you find me somewhat in disarray.
Miss Tremaine, I'm afraid that I shall also have to ask you to account for your whereabouts after you left the theater last night.
Very well. Mr. Gaylord can account for my whereabouts.
Well, Mr. Gaylord?
Why,
You see, Inspector, it's a rather delicate matter, because since I left the theater last night, I have been here.
Is that true, Mr. Gaylord?
Yes.
Oh, I see.
Is that satisfactory, Inspector?
Well, yes. Well, I don't think I need trouble you any further for the moment.
I quite understand your position, Inspector. It's a terrible, terrible thing.
Yes. Well, good day.
Good day.
Madeline.
Yes, John?
Madeline, you shouldn't have done it. They'll have the scandal all over every newspaper in the city.
A scandal is better than a hanging, isn't it?
But there must have been some other way. Now they'll tear you to shreds. They wouldn't have you in anything better than a music hall for the rest of your life.
John, there won't be any scandal
If what?
John, it wasn't just my tip with Nell Garrett that sent me wandering through the fog last night. I was thinking about something much more serious.
What do you mean?
I was thinking about what you had said.
What I had said?
John, perhaps I don't really love you yet, but there's no one else. And you're the kindest, finest man I've ever known.
Madeline.
And now, perhaps you've saved my life.
Madeline, I love you more than anything else in the world. But I wouldn't have you marry me for gratitude.
I wouldn't marry any man for gratitude.
Madeline, if I were to tell you that I wasn't here last night either, that I couldn't explain my whereabouts.
Oh, I see.
Would you still marry me?
Yes, John. I will marry you.
Tonight for Suspense, Roma Wines are bringing you as star Miss June Dupre, whom you have heard in the first act of A Thing of Beauty, a radio play by Robert L. Richards from a story by Elizabeth Heaston. Tonight's tale of Suspense.
This is Truman Bradley for Roma Wines, and I should like to tell you about a most interesting woman who extracts all the simple pleasure and happiness possible from living. She is Elsa Maxwell, International Authority on Hospitality. She offers you some friendly counsel.
I'm always telling people to take it easy, as they say, to be moderate and natural and at ease. And so, obviously, I suggest the enjoyment of a glass of Roma California port after dinner or during the evening. It's also very smart to serve when friends drop in, because this is one of the most glorious of all wines, richly fruity in flavor, with wonderful deep red color, utterly delicious. This is simple enjoyment, easy and restful enjoyment, moderate pleasure that helps you feel calmly at ease and so happier. Don't bother about special glasses. Just use whatever glasses are convenient and enjoy your wine.
You really should act on Miss Maxwell's suggestion. Roma Port, as all Roma wines, is the best that California's magnificent sun-ripened grapes can provide. In glorious flavor, color, and aroma, is unvaryingly good, always enjoyable, protected for you by the ancient skill of the noted Roma wineries, located in the choicest vineyard areas of California. Yet, all this delight costs you only pennies a glass. Remember, more Americans enjoy Roma than any other wines. Roma, R-O-M-A, Roma wines.
And now it is with pleasure that we bring back to our soundstage Miss June Dupre as Madeline Tremaine, who resumes the recital of her brilliant and stormy career. It is a tale told to two clergymen in a darkened room. A tale well calculated to keep them and you in suspense.
Shall I continue, gentlemen?
Oh, yes, please do, Miss Tremaine. It's completely absorbing.
Indeed it is.
Really? I hope you don't mind the lights turned off. It's the storm. I suppose perhaps I'm a sort of elemental creature, but I always love to sit here and have it dark when it's stormy outside.
Not at all.
Well, then, our marriage was a very happy one. Perhaps not entirely in the high tradition of grand passion, but a thoroughly comfortable, civilized relationship until something happened which is so often a tragic feature of wedded life between two stage personalities. For the first 2 seasons, John and I always played together. And then managers began to ask for me, alone. What could I do? I was young and just reaching the peak of my career. John was past his prime in popularity. And so at last he no longer even tried to have a career, but lived along on false hopes and idle dreams and tiresome reminiscences. And took up little hobbies to pass the time away and grew a little stout. It was very difficult for both of us. And then, for me, came the time and opportunity that every actress dreams of. Mademoiselle. Hello, Suzette. I've got the most wonderful news. The most wonderful, wonderful news.
That you, Madeline?
I'll tell you about it later.
Oh,
yes, John?
Come in here a moment. I want to show you something.
Where are you?
In here. It's the end.
Oh, good heavens. Now what?
I thought I'd keep it a secret until I had my first exhibit, but I couldn't wait. I've taken up etching.
Etching?
Yes. Look.
What's that?
You.
What?
It's only the copper plate, of course. You see, the whole principle of etching is... Madeline, look out!
What's the matter?
Almost knocked over that vat of nitric acid. One drop of that on your beautiful white skin, and it would burn a hole right through you.
Well, must you have that sort of thing around?
Of course, that's the whole thing. You see, your sketch simply scrapes the wax off the copper plate. Then you drop it in the acid and...
Well, that's very interesting.
Yes. Well, what happened in town? Anything?
Anything. Everything.
Got some plans, huh? Anyone asked for me?
Oh, yes, everyone asked after you, John, and I told them you were well.
I mean, I thought there might be a couple of decent plays for a change. I might consider something if...
John, how are you on Romeo?
Romeo?
Yes. You see, Maxwell has finally asked me to do a Shakespeare repertory, and high time, by the way. And I'm starting in Romeo and Juliet. And I
Madeline, why didn't you tell me Romeo? Oh, it'll be a sensation, and it's just the thing I need
now, John.
Oh, I can do it all right. Take off a little weight, brush up on the lines. I've done it before, you know.
John.
Oh, Madeline, you're the dearest wife and the best friend a man ever had. You know, lately I've actually wondered sometimes if you might not think I wasn't. Oh, darling.
Now, John, don't count too heavily on this. I'm not quite sure yet how things are going to work out.
Work out? How else can they work out? But perfectly.
Very well. I'd like to begin reading here at home, first thing tomorrow evening. Now, shall we take it again from, yet I should kill thee with much cherishing. Yet I should kill thee with much cherishing. Good night. Good night. Parting is such sweet sorrow that I shall say good night till it be morrow.
Sleep dwell upon thine eyes, peace in thy breast.
John, you see, on those last lines, you should already be moving off stage. You don't want to make too much of them. After all, the scene really ends when Juliet leaves the balcony.
But you can't just throw them away, Madeline. Those are famous lines.
But, John, we mustn't think so much in terms of lines as of performance.
Excuse me, mademoiselle.
Yes, who's that?
Mr. Alexander Duncan is here.
Oh, yes. Show him in.
Yes, mademoiselle.
Alec Duncan. What's that young ham coming around for?
Well, John, I've been meaning to tell you...
Hello, Madeline.
Hello, Alec. You know my husband?
Why, yes. How do you do, Mr. Tremaine?
The name is Gaylord.
Oh, yes, of course, Mr. Gaylord. Well, say, aren't I the luckiest fellow in the world?
Are you?
John.
To be playing Romeo opposite Madeline Tremaine? Why, Madeline, when I got your cable, I could hardly believe it. I jumped on the boat without even packing... Is something wrong?
John, I've been trying to tell you, but I didn't want to hurt your feelings.
Well, if I've interrupted anything...
It's all right, Alec. John, please don't make a scene. I had to have someone to rehearse with until Alec got here, and I knew you wouldn't be the slightest help to me if you thought... Oh, John, why must you make an issue of it?
Madeline, I've always known you were a thoughtless, selfish woman. But I never would have believed that you could do anything quite so vile.
How dare you speak to me that way? You didn't really think that a man with a 40-inch waistline and a double chin could ever play Romeo, did you? Why, you...
Oh, I say.
Get out of here. Get out of here. Get out! Get out! Get out!
I'll get out.
You better leave, Alec.
Oh, yes.
I'll go and apologize. John, I want to talk.
Be careful of that acid, Madeline.
Acid? Oh. John, I'm terribly sorry for what I said. It was beastly of me.
Oh, it's quite all right.
Oh, John, I knew you'd see it that way when you came to think.
Because, you see, I am going to play Romeo.
Oh, John, must we go through it all
Madeline,
again?
I've forgiven, I've forgotten. A lot of things since we've been married. I've pushed you out in front, I've given you the spotlight, and watched your regard for me become somewhat less than that of the servant, if somewhat more than for your dog.
John!
But this, if only for my self-respect, I will not allow to dangle before my eyes the thing that I've wanted most in all the world, except your beauty that I gave it up for. The thing I've been wanting so much I didn't dare admit it to myself. And then to have you snatch it away from me. No, Madeline. Waistlines and double chins can be concealed. But a mean spirit, never. This one thing you can do for me, and you will.
John, you're being a fool.
You see, I've always known that you married me to save your career and to keep my mouth shut. But there's one thing you haven't known. Where I was the night Nell Garrett was murdered.
Where were you?
I was at Nell Garrett's home.
Well, that explains quite a number of things, doesn't it, John?
Madeline, where did you get that gun?
I always thought that someday I might need one.
Madeline?
Don't come near me, John. Very well. I warned you.
Monsters, you beautiful, terrible monsters.
John, no! You see, as he sank to the floor, he hurled a bowl of acid at my face. Oh, it was a frightful thing. Of course, it was self-defense. I was never even brought to trial. Particularly when I told that it was he who had killed poor Nell Garrett. But I suffered a complete nervous collapse. And I suppose I've never really recovered. And yet Providence always seems kind enough to leave something to be thankful for, even in the worst of tragedies, because not a single drop of acid ever touched me. I suppose if it had, I should be horribly disfigured to this day. Have I bored you, Mr. Sedley?
No. Oh, no, Miss Tremaine.
Well, Madeline, the storm is almost over. I think we'd best push on.
Must you? Well, but excuse me for just a moment.
Of course.
My word. Poor woman.
Yes.
I say, look here. What? This mirror. It's not a mirror at all. It has a picture pasted in it. The photograph that's in the study.
Poor Madeline.
Father Benson, Mademoiselle would like to speak with you a moment before you go.
Oh, very well. I'll only be a moment, Sedley.
This way, Father.
Thank you.
Ah, Father.
Well, Madeline?
You may turn the lights on, Suzette, as you go.
Yes, Mademoiselle.
So, that is your young curate, Father Bentham.
Yes. Do you like him?
Oh, he seems a dear boy. But
what, Madeline?
I am afraid I can't see him again.
Madeline, why?
Because I don't want to hurt his feelings, and it would not be the same. You have been my only true friend in all these years. And when you are gone, I would rather be alone again than...
I'm sorry, sir, but Mrs. Stokes is outside. Her little girl is dying, and when she heard you were here, she...
Oh, go away.
Madeline.
Go away, both of you. Go away, go away. Go away.
Come, sir.
Go away.
Good Lord.
Poor Madeline. It was too much for her.
Yes.
Oh, she killed them both, of course, the woman and her husband. I think I always must have known it. All these years, she's lived a lie.
Yes, but that's not the lie that's hurt her. It was the acid.
Acid?
Didn't you see her face, sir?
You forget, my boy, that I am blind.
She has no face.
And so closes A Thing of Beauty, starring June Dupre, tonight's tale of Suspense. Suspense is produced, edited, and directed by William Spear.
Probably no woman alive has been hostess to so many famous and distinguished people as Miss Elsa Maxwell. This is what she says about Roma wine.
When you entertain friends, you do everything you can think of to add to their enjoyment. And that is why I say, when you serve your guests Roma wine, you not only delight them, you also smartly and genuinely flatter them. These delicious wines add so much to hospitality and to enjoyment of everyday meals. Yet it's such a simple, easy addition to the joy of living. So wholesomely moderate and so inexpensive.
Miss Maxwell gives you good advice. Enjoy Roma wine regularly. It's California's finest. Always good, unvaryingly fine in flavor and quality. Remember, more Americans enjoy Roma than any other wines. Roma, R-O-M-A, Roma wines.
Next Thursday, same time, Mr. Keenan Wynn will be your star of Suspense.
Presented by Roma Wines, R-O-M-A, made in California for enjoyment throughout the world. This is CBS, the Columbia Broadcasting System. Now, Roma Wines present
Suspense. Tonight, I Had an Alibi, starring Keenan Wynn.
Suspense is presented for your enjoyment by Roma Wines. That's R-O-M-A, Roma Wines. Those excellent California wines that can add so much pleasantness to the way you live, to your happiness in entertaining guests, to your enjoyment of everyday meals. Yes, right now a glassful would be very pleasant as Roma Wines bring you
Suspense. This is the Man in Black, here for the Roma Wine Company of Fresno, California, who tonight from Hollywood bring you as star Mr. Keenan Wynn, who is soon to be seen in the Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer production Between Two Women. Tonight, Mr. Wynn details for us the dramatic narrative of a gentleman who studied thoroughly the art of murder, and who, like certain others whose ventures are now and again recorded on the front pages of our newspapers, evolved his own formula for the perfect crime. And so with I Had an Alibi, and with the performance of Keenan Wynn, we again hope to keep you in suspense.
Lamson?
Yes?
Come in. Sit down. Ever take dictation for a writer before?
No.
Well, that's okay. I've never written a novel before that I finished. I hope you don't mind working in a place like this.
I don't mind working anywhere that I'm paid to work.
Oh, don't let that worry you. I came into quite a piece of change not long ago. Maybe you heard about it.
Yes?
Well, you're not exactly the talkative type, are you?
I didn't think you'd have much time for talking, Mr. Eichner.
Yeah, I checked. 11 days to make my deadline. Ready to start?
Yes?
Title: I Had an Alibi by Joseph Eichner. Oh, by the way, this will all be in the first person.
Yes?
Chapter 1. I first met Belle Schaffner when I went to work for the Herald. She was a sob sister and a good one. I was a police reporter and no bum in the business myself. With Belle and me, it happened almost right away. We talked the same language, thought the same way, wanted the same things. We were that kind of a team. But for a while, there were a couple of notions in the back of my mind that I hadn't even told Belle. Because sometimes a woman in love can be practical only just so far. It all came out one night in the office after I'd been there about 6 months.
Hello, handsome.
Hi, Sugarpuss.
Busy?
Uh-uh.
Can I see?
Why not?
Dimly through the gray curtain of fog, Alice saw the phantom figure. It was closer now. She tried to scream, but her throat... Is Alice still having trouble with her throat? She's been trying to scream for 2 weeks now.
Look, I know. There's the reason right there. City desk, Eichner. Yeah. Uh-huh. Yeah. Yeah. What's the address again? Yeah, okay, I'll go right down. Well, what did I tell you?
President want to see you?
Some guy carved up his wife. If I have to cover one more family brawl ends fatally for this sheet...
Well, what's the matter? You like to write about murders, and here they pay you for it.
Well, not the kind of money I want, they don't. Have you any idea what they pay a guy like James M. Cain?
A James M. Cain girl never has any trouble screaming when she wants to. Now, you listen, Joe. You'll never write a decent book until you get down to something you know about.
Well, this stuff sells, doesn't it? Agatha Christie sells. Leslie Charteris sells.
Yeah, but that's not your racket, Joe. You've seen plenty of the real thing. Write about that. Stick to your trade.
Oh, yeah. Well, look what it's got me. You just can't be a writer and a newspaper reporter at the same time, Belle. That's all.
All right. Quit.
On what, relief?
Well, darling, it isn't leap year, but I'll always support you.
Oh, I can't even live on my own salary. How are we going to both live on yours? Oh, listen, Belle, you know how I am about you.
Well, a girl always thinks she has ways of knowing.
Well, I've given you plenty of ways of knowing. But before we do anything like that, we've got to have money. Lots of money. We're that kind of people. And there are ways.
Like what?
Well, like marriage, for instance.
Oh, you're going to marry the boss's daughter, huh?
Well, why not? If the boss has left her $1 million and she has a bad cough.
Well, I don't have $1 million, but...
All right, you think I'm kidding. But they exist. You read about them in the papers all the time.
That's right, you do.
Well, what's that?
Just a picture of a girl.
Oh, and what about her?
I'm supposed to go out and interview her tonight. It's a very, very sad story.
Yeah?
Uh-huh. She's got not $1 million, but 5. And she's an orphan. And she's got something the matter with her heart. So they only give her 6 months to live. And she's just come out here to spend her last days in the glorious sunshine of California. It's a very sad story.
Yeah.
You want the assignment, Romeo? It's yours.
Oh, say, loan me a couple of dollars, will you, Belle?
What? Poker?
Oh, no. Flowers.
Tonight for Suspense, Roma Wines are bringing you as star Mr. Keenan Wynn, whom you've heard in the prologue to I Had an Alibi, a radio play by Mindred Lord. Tonight's tale of Suspense.
This is Truman Bradley for Roma Wines. And we have an interesting idea for you tonight from the keen and sensible mind of America's famed expert on parties and smart entertaining, Miss Elsa Maxwell. And we quote,
Serving a nice table wine when friends come to dinner or with everyday meals is one of the smartest, most sensible, and truly moderate pleasures of which I know, and one which any family can regularly enjoy, since the cost of delicious Roma Burgundy is very little. Just serve your Roma Burgundy well cooled. Enjoy it with any food, and don't worry about special glasses. Any glasses available are perfectly correct. The goodness of the wine, the added enjoyment of your food, these are the things that count.
Miss Maxwell expresses perfectly what we of Roma believe. In Roma, California Burgundy, and all Roma wines, you enjoy the glorious color, aroma, and flavor of superb, sun-ripe grapes. Our noted wineries, located in California's choicest vineyard areas, assure you of flavor and quality which are always good, never varying, always delightful. And so Roma quality is preferred everywhere. And you are able to enjoy these fine Roma wines at modest prices, only pennies a glassful. Remember, more Americans enjoy Roma than any other wines. R-O-M-A, Roma Wines.
And now it is with pleasure that we bring back to our soundstage our star, Mr. Keenan Wynn, who, as one Joe Eichner, prepares to continue dictation on his first and only novel, I Had an Alibi, a tale well calculated to keep you in suspense.
You're, sure you don't mind coming here, Miss Lamson?
No.
Well, we'd better go on with the dictation. I've only got, 9 more days.
I'm ready.
Chapter 4. Belle Schaffner was a good sob sister, all right, even if she did have one weakness, which was me. The story she'd given me about the girl was the real McCoy. Her name was Linda Vale, and she did have $5 million and just 6 months to live. I went out to her house that night. She was living in a big place in Beverly Hills that she'd taken over from some broken-down movie star. You know, swimming pool, tennis course, riding stables, the works. And not a soul around. I'd been worried about that. I thought maybe she might be having a last fling and working at it 24 hours a day, you know, with a lot of nosy spongers hanging on to her all the time. There was just one light on in a room upstairs and a hall light. I went up to the door, knocked, and waited.
Yes, sir?
I'd like to see Miss Vale, please.
I'm sorry, sir, but Miss Vale has given orders that...
Well, would you just give her these, please? I'll wait.
Oh, very well, sir.
A press card will break the ice with almost anyone, and I knew the flowers would do the rest. Pretty soon I heard steps and a voice.
Sandra, the flowers are simply lovely, but who...
Miss Vale?
Yes?
Well, my name is Joseph Eichner. Yeah, she was a nice enough kid and lonely. Because, like a lot of people on a spot like that, the thing she was afraid of most was having anybody pity her. That's the mistake that nearly everybody made. But not me. I played it for a switch. I'd figured every move for days ahead.
Joe?
Yes?
What's the matter?
Oh, nothing.
You've been awfully subdued lately. You've always been so gay.
Well, Linda, I've got to go away.
Go away?
Linda, I've been trying to keep it from you, but... Well, gee, you must know how I feel about you, and seeing you every day and knowing that...
Oh, Joe.
Well, it's not fair to you, Linda. And, well, I can't take it anymore.
Joe.
Yes?
I don't want you to go.
Well, I don't want to. I don't want to, Linda, but...
Then promise me. Promise me you won't leave me. Just for the little time that's left.
Oh, Linda.
For my sake.
All right, Linda. For your sake. After that, it was quick and easy. 3 days later, we went to see her doctor, the best heart specialist in California.
Dr. Lawson, you must be frank with us.
Doctor, we're in love.
I see.
And we want to be married.
Look, Doctor, if I could make Linda happier, if I could give her all the love and tenderness, well, isn't it just possible?
My boy, all that medical science can do is go on the basis of experience. We can't make certain prophecies. But on the basis of experience, the prognosis for Linda remains unchanged.
But, Doctor, once you told me that anything is possible.
And I say it again, my dear. Anything is possible.
That's enough for me, Joe.
Yeah, me too.
Do you, Joseph, take this woman to be your lawful wedded wife, to have and to hold in sickness and health, for better, for worse, for richer, for poorer, forsaking all others, until death do you part?
I do.
Do you, Linda, take this man to be your lawful wedded?
Hello, baby.
Oh. Hello, Romeo.
Oh, now, Belle, lay off, will you?
I'm sorry. I'm just nervous, I guess.
Well, anything wrong?
Well, that ex-husband of mine is loose again.
Well, what of it?
What of it? You remember the song and dance he led me the last time, don't you?
All right, so he gets rough, you just haven't committed again, that's all?
Yeah. Yeah, I suppose so.
Belle.
No, please. I don't feel like it.
Well, what's the matter?
Well, what do you think?
Oh, now, Belle, you know I come around here as often as I can.
Sure. Sometimes as often as twice a week.
Well, I see you other places. Anyway, I can't help it. And then when I do come, well, you might at least...
All right. Skip it. How's the writing coming along?
Oh, I don't know. I just can't seem to get started.
So you're not even getting that done.
Well, how can I get down to work when all I'm thinking about is...
Joe, How long is this going to go on?
Well, how do I know? It's bound to happen soon.
That's what you said a year ago. A year ago.
But, Belle, it's all set. She made out the will in my name and everything. All we have to do is wait. Just wait for the heart of hers to quit, that's all.
Well, I'm tired of waiting. Now, what do you think of that?
Well, what else can we do?
You mean what else can I do? There are a few guys around loose with $5 million, too, you know.
Oh, now, Belle.
Oh, For all we know, she's liable to live to be 100.
Now, that's impossible. The doctor said...
Yes, and doctors have been wrong.
Well, what do you want me to do about it?
Well, you think you're a mystery writer.
What do you mean by that?
I mean, if you're supposed to be able to think up mysteries, start thinking one up.
Oh.
And don't think about it too long, either.
Say, Belle...
I mean it, Joe.
Okay.
Because I'm not going to wait like this forever.
Okay. Well, that was when I first began to think about it. Then all of a sudden I began writing again. Linda was a little surprised, but I kept right at it, and every so often I'd show her what I'd done. It was pretty terrible, but it didn't matter because nobody but her was ever going to see it anyway. After about 2 weeks of this, I was ready. That night I came out of the study and went into the drawing room.
Working hard?
Yeah. Say, Linda, you want to do me a favor?
Well, of course I do.
Well, you know the place in my story where Lillian pretends to commit suicide and leaves the note?
Uh-huh.
Look, I suddenly thought, why not have the note reproduced right in the book as though we're in her own handwriting? You know, Exhibit A, you know, along with the map of the grounds and so on.
Well, that would be good.
Yeah. Only, of course, it's got to be in a woman's handwriting. Do you want to write it for me?
You mean my handwriting's going to come out in a book? Oh, how exciting.
Well, it sure is if I can get a publisher, and I think I've got a nibble. Here, you can write it on your own stationery. I'll cut that letterhead off the top later.
All right. What does it say?
Darling.
Darling?
You know I can't go on like this.
Huh?
It's got to end sometime.
It's got to end some time.
It will be easier for both of us if I end it now.
If I end it now.
Please try to forgive me and sign it L.
L? Wouldn't you sign it?
Oh, no, you see, all Lillian's letters to Dick are signed L, remember?
Oh, yes, I
Yeah.
remember now. There.
Oh, thanks, darling.
Is it all right?
Oh, sure. It's perfect.
Hello?
Hello, Belle?
Yeah?
Now, listen, baby, it's all set.
Did you get the note?
Oh, sure. She wrote it tonight. Now, how soon can you leave for Palm Springs?
Anytime.
Tomorrow morning?
All right.
Now, listen, when you check in down there, make plenty of fuss about it.
I will.
I'll leave here at exactly 9:30 tomorrow night. I'll stop at a couple of places, so you leave Palm Springs about 15 minutes later, 9:45.
Okay.
Better check your watch at Western Union. I'll do the same.
Okay.
Hey, be sure to bring plenty of stuff. Everything you can lay your hands
Oh,
on.
don't worry. I will.
You remember the place, don't you? Remember? You know, the second turn after you leave Riverside.
Well, how far is it about?
Well, it's exactly halfway between the springs and here. Say 60 miles.
I'll be there.
Okay, baby. Tomorrow night. What time is it, Linda?
Oh, it's just about 9:30.
Well, I guess I'd better be going. Gee, darling, I hate to have to leave you this way on such short notice.
Oh, it's all right, dear. I'll be going to sleep in a few minutes anyway.
You know, I don't know why this guy has to see me in such a rush, in Palm Springs of all places. But if he wants to publish my book...
Well, of course, you have to go.
Well, I'll be back tomorrow afternoon, maybe even earlier. You won't worry, will you?
No, I won't.
Doors onto the terrace locked? Yep. Yeah, they're all right. You know, I know how nervous you are sometimes when I'm away for the evening.
I think you're the one that's nervous.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe I am at that. Well, good night, darling.
Good night, Joe.
Oh, Saunders.
Yes, sir? Come in, sir.
Look, Saunders, I've got to drive down to Palm Springs tonight. Excuse me just a second. Linda?
Yes?
Linda, you'd better put the snap lock on your door from the inside, just in case. I've got the key.
Oh, all right. There you are.
Okay, darling. Good night.
Good night.
Saunders, let me see. Oh, yes. I wonder if you'd mind checking the doors from Mrs. Eichner's room onto the terrace to see if they're locked from the outside.
Sir?
A little later when she's asleep so as not to disturb her. You know, she gets nervous sometimes when I'm not here.
Yes, sir.
Saunders, you won't forget, will you?
Oh, no, sir. I shan't forget, sir.
$5 gallons?
Yes, sir.
Say, that ought to get me to Palm Springs.
Oh, should easy.
By the way, have you got a road map for Palm Springs?
I think I got one inside here.
Oh, thanks. Say, I don't suppose you'd cash a small check, would you? I missed the bank today.
Well, the boss might, but he ain't here.
Well, I got identification, plenty of it. See, Joseph Eichner, license, Social Security card, Joseph Eichner.
Yes, I see, son, I see. But unless the boss was here, I wouldn't cash a check for Henry Morgenthau.
Belle?
Joe.
Hello, baby. Well, what's the matter? You're shaking all over.
Oh, I don't know. Everything, I guess.
Hmm?
And I thought I saw that ex-husband of mine down in Palm Springs
What?
today.
Now, what would he be doing down there?
I don't... Oh, I must be seeing
Oh,
things.
no, sure you are.
Oh, Joe. Joe, I'm scared just the same. Are you sure nobody's going to get nosy about this?
Let him. It's a setup. The room's locked from the inside, and the butler knows it. Nobody could have done what's going to happen in that room tonight except Linda or me. I couldn't have done it because I couldn't be there in Palm Springs with you at the same time, right?
Oh, yeah, I
And
guess so.
I've already left a trail to Palm Springs a mile wide. Did you get away all right?
Yeah, out the back of the hotel. Nobody saw me.
Everything else go okay?
Oh, yeah. I got the maid in this afternoon and raised a fuss. Then I gave her $5 and made her polish everything till she was blue in the face. She'll never forget it.
Swell. You got the stuff?
Yeah, my big suitcase in the trunk rack. All packed in cotton.
Okay, let's take a look at it.
Here you are. Look at this.
Mm-hmm.
Glasses, water pitcher, ashtrays. And look at this. I even got doorknobs. I unscrewed them with a nail file.
Hey, what do you know?
Here's the one to the bathroom. And this little one's from the medicine cabinet.
Uh-huh.
And this one's the inside of the front door.
Okay, I'll just put my fingerprints on them, and you pack them back in cotton. Say, you're sure you can get this stuff back into your room all right?
Oh, sure.
Oh, better hurry then.
Yeah, I know.
There. With my fingerprints on that doorknob, just let anybody try to prove I wasn't with you in Palm Springs tonight.
Oh, I told you that when you got down to something real, you'd hit the jackpot. Remember?
Yeah, and you know what this pot is worth, don't you? $5 million. There were no hitches. I got back to town a little before 2. I drove the car into a little side road about a half mile up the canyon and walked back. I didn't meet anybody, and the places I passed were all dark. So was mine. I slipped through a hole to the hedge and crossed the lawn and went up onto the terrace. I checked to see if I had the suicide note in my pocket, and then I pulled on a pair of gloves and opened the terrace door with my key and went inside. The gun was in my overcoat pocket. It was hers. I had the flashlight in my hand. I went over to the bedside and I flashed it on just for a second. She was lying on her side, turned away from me. I put the gun against her temple and pulled the trigger. She didn't make a sound. I reached over to put the gun in her hand, and then it hit me. Her hand was stiff and cold as ice. I flashed the light in her face. It was blue. While I was away, she'd had her heart attack at last. For the last 3 or 4 hours, she'd been dead. Well, for about 10 seconds, I didn't know what to do. And I realized I had to get out of there. Saunders might have heard the shot. Before, it wouldn't have mattered one way or the other because the coroner would have established the time of death anyway. But now it made all the difference in the world. I went out the terrace door and I locked it behind me. I crossed the grounds and I started walking up the canyon. Walking, thinking. I don't know how long I walked. But what I was thinking was enough to drive me crazy. I'd planned the perfect suicide. I'd planned it so nobody could have fired that shot but Linda or me, and I had a perfect alibi. But now it had to be me that shot her. Because any fool of a doctor could tell she'd been dead when that shot was fired. And then it came to me. What was the difference? Let the Palm Springs alibi go. Let them think the shooting was an accident. Let them think anything they wanted to. I had the money. And what can you do to a man for shooting a dead body? It was almost daylight when I got back to the room. The house was still dark, so Saunders hadn't heard anything. Well, first I burned that suicide note. Then I turned on the lights and unlocked the door. Then I fired another shot into the wall for Saunders again, just in case he was awake. Then I went over to the inter-house phone.
Hello?
Saunders?
Oh, yes, sir.
Saunders, there's been an accident. You better call the police. Well, have you seen everything you want to, Lieutenant?
Yep. Well, you're living kind of different than you used to when you were a police reporter downtown, huh, Joe?
Yeah. I suppose you want to ask me some questions.
Oh, a couple. I hear you were going to Palm Springs last night.
Yeah, I was. I changed my mind.
Who were you going to see down there? Anybody in particular?
Oh, just a friend.
It wouldn't have been your old friend, Belle Schaffner, would it?
Well, whatever, I didn't go.
You'd have had time to go, though.
Oh, all right, but I didn't. Anyway, what's all that got to do with
nothing, just routine. So you came back here?
Yeah, that's right.
Then what happened?
Well, I came in the house and I went up to our bedroom, and I thought I heard a noise. I thought I saw a man moving around, and, well, I was pretty jumpy, and I fired.
How many shots?
2.
And one of them hit your wife?
One of them hit what was my wife.
All an accident, huh?
Yeah, that's right.
You come into quite a lot of money with her out of the way, don't you, Joe?
Yeah, sure. What of it?
Nothing. Only it's too bad you're not going to be able to spend it.
Oh, nuts. What do you think you're going to do? Charge me with a murder for firing a shot into a corpse?
No, but it could be a pretty spectacular little alibi for just on the spur of the moment, couldn't it?
Alibi for what?
For Belle Schaffner.
What?
Her throat was cut in Palm Springs last night, and your fingerprints are all over the place.
It was her ex-husband who killed her, of course. But what's the difference now? Bella was right about one thing, though. You can't write a decent story unless it's something real. I know. The end. Well, Miss Lamson, we made it. Just.
Yes.
Do you believe it?
Yes.
Gee, that's funny. Nobody else did. The judge, the jury, not even my own lawyer.
Maybe they believed what I believe. But you ought to die for it anyway.
Yeah, check. I got a date for that right now. Right, Warden?
You ready, Agner?
Yeah, let's go.
And so closes I Had an Alibi, starring Keenan Wynn, tonight's tale of Suspense. Suspense is produced, edited, and directed by William Spear.
The other day, Elsa Maxwell told us about a friend who had lived many years in wine-loving countries around the world.
I gave him some of our delicious Roma, California Burgundy at dinner, and he confessed to me that he thought it every bit as enjoyable as any he had ever had. So I say, you people who do not regularly serve Roma wine are missing one of the most delightful treats daily living can offer. It's so good, so smart, and yet so very simple.
Take Miss Maxwell's advice. Enjoy Roma wine regularly. It's always good, unvaryingly fine in flavor and quality, and only pennies a glass. Remember, more Americans enjoy Roma than any other wines. Roma, R-O-M-A, Roma wines.
Next Thursday, same time, Miss Nancy Kelly will be your star of Suspense.
Presented by Roma Wines, R-O-M-A, made in California for enjoyment throughout the world. This is CBS, the Columbia Broadcasting System. Is the glass. Remember, more Americans enjoy Roma than any other wines. Roma, R-O-M-A, Roma wines.
And now it is with pleasure that we bring back to our soundstage Mr. John Loder as Reginald Parker and June Dupre as April Manby, who now takes up the narrative concerning the Brighton Strangler, a tale well calculated to keep you in suspense.
Somehow, from that very first moment, I was drawn to him. He was handsome and attractive, yes, but it wasn't that. He seemed so lonely, so much in need of help. And then on the train, when I saw that he'd really been hurt, I just threw convention to the winds and took charge of him.
You've been very kind.
Well, someone had to put a bit of sticking plaster on that head of yours. Are you sure you're all right now?
Quite, thank you.
It must have been terrible. I heard about the theater.
The theater?
Yes, of course I recognized you the minute you stepped into the compartment.
What?
Well, you are Reginald Parker, the actor, aren't you? I've seen your picture on the billboards dozens of times.
Reginald Parker.
And I've been dying to tell you. My name is April.
April?
Mm-hmm, that's the name of the girl in your play, isn't it? And I'm from Brighton.
April from Brighton?
Only, of course, my last name is Manby.
Well, that's where I'm going, Brighton.
Well, isn't that nice? We do have a lot in common, don't we?
Yes, a great deal, I think.
Oh, we're going to have such wonderful times in Brighton over the holidays. You know, I was wondering if you wouldn't think it forward of me.
What?
Well, my family's having a party at our house on Christmas Day. The Lord Mayor and a lot of people are going to be there, and I...
The Lord Mayor?
Yes, and if you'd like to come... I mean, I'm really not a celebrity hound, you know. But if you'd really like to come...
Why, I'd be delighted.
Oh, Mr. Parker, that would be wonderful.
April, why don't you call me...
Don't you think?
No, we can't go in just yet because...
Because what?
Because something has to happen first.
What has to happen?
You know what happened to the Lord Mayor of Brighton, don't you?
He was strangled.
On Christmas Day, and the chief inspector... 3 days later, he was strangled, too, wasn't he?
Edward.
Don't try to pretend you haven't guessed who I am.
No, Edward. You couldn't be...
Go on, say it. The Brighton Strangler.
Couldn't.
But I did. My alibi for the Lord Mayor was very simple. I merely turned his watch back. And for the chief inspector, you yourself supplied me with an alibi. Remember?
But why? Why?
Because 10 years ago they conspired to send an innocent man to prison. And that innocent man was me. And now, you, my dear, are the only person alive who knows.
Edward, listen to me. We're in London. It's New Year's Eve. Don't you remember how... It's so cold. Edward, you're not going to...
Yes. That's him! Stop! Stop for us!
Dead. At last. The Brighton Strangler.
Thank you very much. Thank you, all of you. Thank you. Good night.
Reggie, it's so good, it's so terribly good, I can't bear to close it, and it's making so much money.
Well, you're the producer. Don't close it. Put someone else in the part.
Oh, you know I can't do that. People don't come to the theater to see the Brighton Strangler. They come to see you, Reggie. To the public, you are the Brighton Strangler.
Not after tonight, I'm not.
I can't understand you, Reggie. Walking out on a play that gave you fame and fortune.
I'm fed up. Fed up to the teeth with it, that's all.
Oh, look, Reggie, I won't speak for the play itself. It's only mediocre. I'll grant you that. But you've given it something, Reggie. By sheer force of personality, you've made it authentic, terrifying, a tremendous psychological drama.
That's just it. Now, look here, Shelton. Has it ever occurred to you that a man might feel if he strangled one more person, he'd go stark, raving mad?
Oh, but it's only a play, Reggie. Just make believe.
You ought to know by this time that to an actor, a good actor, it's never entirely make-believe.
Now, look here, Reggie, look here. I'll tell you what I'll do.
I don't want to talk about it. Leave me alone, can't you?
Oh, but Reggie, please.
Leave me alone. Can't you understand? Leave me alone.
All right. There's no need to get edgy.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Got any plans?
Or some service canteen shows? Well, if I don't see you, Merry Christmas.
Yes, Merry Christmas. Good night.
Good night. Air raid. Shelton! Gone. Everyone's gone. No time to make the shelter now. Best stay here, I suppose. Getting close. Too close. This is it. My head hurts. It hurts. Got to get out of here somehow. But where? Where? Where?
You all right, sir? Oh, you've got a nasty gash on the head, haven't you?
All right, why, yes. Yes, I'm all right.
Oh, here. Don't forget your suitcase, sir.
Suitcase?
Yeah. Where you going? Victoria Station?
Huh? Yes. Victoria Station.
How many?
3 return tickets to Horsham.
Here you are.
And yours?
Return to Rottingdean, if you please.
Right.
Next?
Single to Brighton.
Brighton.
Next? What's yours, sir?
Single to Brighton.
Tonight for Suspense, Roma Wines are bringing you as stars Mr. John Loder and Miss June Dupre in The Brighton Strangler, tonight's tale of suspense.
When you listen to the friendly advice of Miss Elsa Maxwell about hospitality and gracious living, you realize that here is an authority who talks plain common sense all the time.
I'm talking to men as well as women when I say that the finest hospitality is always simple, sincere, moderate, and natural. Never the opposite. And so, I'm always emphasizing that the nicest, simplest, most sincerely flattering hospitality is to serve your guests some Roma sherry. With its golden amber color, its deliciously tangy, nut-like flavor. It's not only supremely enjoyable before dinner or in the afternoon, it's smartly correct, a genuine compliment to your friends and to yourself. And please don't worry about special glasses. It's perfectly correct to use any nice glasses that are handy.
Well, Miss Maxwell speaks more authoritatively than I can. But I will add this. Roma sherry, like all famous Roma wines, made from California's magnificent sun-ripened grapes, brings you all their fine flavor, aroma, and color, is unvaryingly good, always enjoyable, thanks to the age-old wine skill of Roma's noted wineries located in the choicest vineyard areas of California. Yet all this goodness and pleasure is yours for only pennies. Now, Roma Wines present
Suspense. Tonight, The Brighton Strangler, starring John Loder with June Dupre.
Suspense is presented for your enjoyment by Roma Wines. That's R-O-M-A, Roma Wines. Those excellent California wines that can add so much pleasantness to the way you live, to your happiness in entertaining guests, to your enjoyment of everyday meals. Yes, right now a glass full would be very pleasant as Roma Wines bring you
Suspense. This is the Man in Black, here for the Roma Wine Company of Fresno, California, who tonight from Hollywood bring you a radio play by Robert L. Richards, based on the RKO picture, The Brighton Strangler. The stars of the production are appearing with us this evening in this drama of an actor who specialized in murder and of a girl who became the unwilling heroine in a real-life play. And so with The Brighton Strangler and with the performances of John Loder and June Dupre, we again hope to keep you in suspense.
Midnight and the New Year.
Oh, Edward, it's been such a lovely holiday.
April, my dear, I wouldn't stand too near the edge. The rail is very low and it's quite a drop to the street.
I was only looking over the city. It's even a lovely night to have a holiday end, as long as it must end.
All lovely things must end, my dear.
Shall we join the others? It's a bit chilly out here on the terrace.